You thought Star 6 Wars 1 was reviewing this anime, but it was me, Dio! Sorry, couldn't resist. Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to my next anime review. For this one, we look at the anime Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, the 2012 version. Now this review will only cover the 2012 series because the second series, Stardust Crusaders, has a different focus and characters than the 2012 series. As a final note, I'll try to avoid spoilers in this review. However, because of the nature of this anime, I may have to go into some spoilers. And since Jojo is a series best left unspoiled, if you've not seen the 2012 series, then I'd recommend waiting to see this review till after you've finished the 2012 series. With all that said, let's begin. Now, the story is split into two different story arcs, and I'm going to cover both individually because both stories have different focuses. The first story arc, the Phantom Blood arc, takes place between 1880 and 1888. This story is about Jonathan Joestar and his life after his father adopts a boy named Dio Brando because of a debt that Jonathan's father owed the Brando family many years ago. The Phantom Blood arc story is hard to pay down. On the one hand, it's pretty entertaining and is pretty serious when required. On the other hand, it's only 9 episodes of a 26-episode show, so it has some pacing problems and might take itself a little too seriously at times. It's good for what it is, but it's far from flawless. For the other story arc, we have the Battle Tendency arc, which takes place in 1938, 50 years after the end of the Phantom Blood arc. The Battle Tendency arc is about Joseph Joestar and his quest to defeat an even greater force than his grandfather Jonathan faced 50 years prior. Now, remember what negatives I said about the Phantom Blood arc, about the pacing and how it takes itself a little too seriously? Yeah, they're gone. The pacing is far better. Not perfect at times, but far better. It's much more self-aware of what it is, unlike the Phantom Blood arc. And while some scenes can be looked at as ludicrous, it does a good job of explaining itself. To top it all off, all of the strengths of the Phantom Blood arc story are intact and increasing the entertainment of the series. If I'm going to be honest, the Battle Tendency arc is one of the best shonen arcs I've ever seen. It's not totally flawless, it does have minor pacing problems as well, but it's a hell of a lot of fun and has some pretty good writing to boot. Now, like the story section, I'm going to separate the characters into the Phantom Blood arcs and the Battle Tendencies because both do feature a different character cast. With that said, let's start with the main character of the Phantom Blood arc, Jonathan Joestar. At the beginning of the series, Jonathan, nicknamed Jojo, starts out as a highly privileged kid who wants to be a gentleman. By the end of the Phantom Blood arc, he's polite, very respectful of most people, and caring for those he loves, but is willing to fight to protect those he loves. I like Jonathan, but he can sometimes be very one-note. I think that a lot of the problems I have with him boil down to him and his relationship with the other characters not being fleshed out all that well, at least in some regards. For what he is, he's a good character, but he could have been so much more. Next, we will talk about Robert E.O. Speedwagon, better known as just Speedwagon. When we first see Speedwagon, he's a thug boss in the streets of London, but after a confrontation with Jonathan Joestar, he becomes one of Jonathan's best friends and loyal companions. I really like Speedwagon. He can seem very cowardly, but steps it up when he can. He's a true friend to Jonathan and wants to help him in his journey. Honestly, Speedwagon is my second favorite Phantom Blood arc character. Next is Will A. Cepelli, better known as Baron Cepelli. He's a mysterious person who is hunting the stone mask that is in Dio's possession. Now, I like Cepelli. He's very helpful to Jonathan, and while still wanting to reach his goal of destroying the stone mask, my only real problem with him is that I feel like he could have been fleshed out more at times. Again, that's due to the episode count. Aside from that, however, I like Zeppeli. Remember when I said Speedwagon was my second favorite Phantom Blood Arc character? Well, it's time to look at my favorite Phantom Blood Arc character, Dio Brando. To put it bluntly, Dio is an asshole. He's manipulative, cruel, arrogant, ambitious, and violent when provoked. And that's why I like him as a villain. And no, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say he's the bad guy. The show makes it very obvious he's the villain from episode 1. He's a character that's easy to love to hate. What he does can be outright despicable. However, the anime never tries to justify what he does. He's seen as evil from the beginning, and all for his rise to the top. I'm going to be honest, sometimes it's nice to see a villain just be a villain. And in that regard, Dio excels. He is by far my favorite Phantom Blood Arc character. The side characters of Phantom Blood Arc aren't bad, but could have been fleshed out more and explored more. However, I blame the fact that this arc only has 9 episodes, and because of that, the side characters do feel underdeveloped. I know it's not a big problem, and it's more of a nitpick, but it still would have been nice to see some of them develop better. Overall, the Phantom Blood Arc characters are good, but they could have been so much more. Now it's time to move on to the characters of Battle Tendency, and what better way to start off with is about talking about the main character of Battle Tendency arc, Joseph Joestar. Joseph Joestar is a cocky, smart, kind, a bit rude at times, and temperamental person. So would you believe he's my favorite Jojo character at the moment? He gives energy that was lacking at times with Jonathan, and while he is cocky, for the most part, he can back it up. And he does care deeply for his friends and family. If I'm going to be honest, he's become a new favorite character of mine in general. Next up is Caesar Zeppeli, the grandson of Will A. Zeppeli. He's a confident, smart, respectful, and polite. He's a contrast to Joseph. The two are very different in many ways, but both have many similarities that creates a friendship between the two. I'm going to be honest, I really like Caesar. He is a very likable character, and a really good one at that. I'd say he's my second favorite Battle Tendency character. Next up we have Lisa, the coach of Caesar for his Hamon abilities, and later for Joseph as well. She's strict, seemingly cold, but shows her kind side from time to time. I wasn't sure what to think of her when I first saw her, but now I definitely say I really like her character. She needed time to grow on me, and thankfully they did a great job at doing that, which I'm thankful for. Next are the Pillarmen. Now, to avoid spoilers, I'll keep this brief, but all of them are interesting to watch and make great villains. Either you like them or love to hate them, which is a good thing for a villain to be. Honestly, they are good follow-ups to Dio. Not quite to the same enjoyment as Dio, but good characters in their own right. The side characters of this arc are better than Phantom Bloods. True, some of the side cast have the same problems as Phantom Bloods, with not being fleshed out enough, but I feel that Battle Tendency has a better side cast than Phantom Blood, as more of them are fleshed out and honestly more interesting. Overall, the characters of Battle Tendency are a great step up from Phantom Blood's cast, and they were already good to begin with. They made the Battle Tendency arc go from good to amazing. I love Battle Tendency's characters, and the entire cast of the anime in general. The animation was done by a studio by the name of David Production, who did Bento, later seasons of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and with Studio Pierrot, Level E. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is easily their most recognizable work. Unlike with the story and characters, Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency have about the same animation, so I'll talk about it all at once this time. With that said, JoJo's animation is unique. Sometimes during a fight, huge manga-like words appear, and at times has a panel effect, which is a bit of an odd choice, but not as odd as at times they change the coloring of certain scenes. I'm not sure why they made this choice, but it makes it unique to say the least. The character design is distinctive enough to tell characters apart, the backgrounds look really well detailed, and the movement of the characters and fight scenes work really well. If I'm going to be honest, the animation is a bizarre one to talk about. And I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing a lot of the time, but one thing is for sure, it's unique to say the very least. Now, both Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency have not only different OSTs, but different people working on each OST, so we will be looking at both OSTs separately. Now, let's start with Phantom Blood's OST. Phantom Blood's OST was made by Hayato Matsu, and I apologize again if I pronounced that name wrong, who's probably better known for his video game OSTs. The only other anime I've seen his OSTs from is Hellsing Ultimate. I'd say that Phantom Blood's OST works for what it is, but doesn't really stand out much. There's some pretty good songs, just that it doesn't stand out that much compared to many other OSTs I've heard. Now, Battle Tendency's OST was made by Taku Iwasaki. Again, I hope I pronounced that right. Who's done a lot of anime OSTs such as Rurouni Kenshin Trust and Betrayal, Gurren Lagann, Soul Eater, Kanagatari, and Norman Gun, to name a few. I've been very impressed by Taku's OSTs in the past, and Battle Tendency's OST is no exception to this. I love this OST. It has the energy that the series needed, and has several memorable tracks like Mer Etno El Mea Animea, I hope again I pronounced that right, both versions of it also, Awaken, Propaganda, Avalon, and Fields of Fright, to name a few of its great OST pieces. It's a huge step up from Phantom Blood's OST, and I'm thankful for that. Now for the openings and ending theme. Phantom Blood's opening is extremely fitting for the first arc and is a really great opening. However, it does contain spoilers for the first 3 episodes, so be wary of that. The second opening is pretty much the same in that it's really good and fitting, which is really nice touch, to be honest. The ending has a very different choice of using Roundabout from the British band Yes. While it's a bizarre choice for a song, it's an awesome ending theme and a really fun listen. Now, as of the time of this recording, there is no dub for the series, but there is one forthcoming. So I don't know how it will be when it does come out. However, the sub is just great, with many great performances that capture the characters to a T. Overall, the sound is really well done, and just amazes me, to be honest. Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is amazing. It has great action, likable characters, an interesting story, unique animation, a really great OST with Battle Tendency's OST, though Phantom Bloods is also good, and it's a ton of fun. It was a blast to watch, to the point I finished it in 2 days. I'm not kidding, this was one of the few anime I marathoned without feeling like I needed to marathon it. It does have some problems, primarily in Phantom Blood arc, but all is made up for in Battle Tendency arc, which fixes a lot of the problems that Phantom Blood had, making for an amazing experience. It's become one of my new favorite anime, and is well deserving of it. It's not for everyone, but for me at least, I love Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. I'd recommend it if you like a great action series and likable characters. However, if you're looking for a more slice of life or a calmer anime, I wouldn't recommend it. For alternate anime recommendations, I point you towards Bakano, another fun action series that actually has a lot of similarities to Jojo now that I think about it, and is also a lot of fun to watch. I also recommend Hunter x Hunter, a really great shonen as well that has a lot of fun to watch as well, and very likable characters in its own right. Now, unlike my other reviews, I'm going to give a final recommendation for Gurren Lagann, as it's also a fun action series that has a lot of energy, very similar to JoJo. Between those, I would say you're going to have a blast. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1, and I'll see you guys next time.